Lobby group Human Rights Watch says that over thousands of native people in Apaa village in northern Uganda may not be able to vote in the 2021 elections because of outdated voter rolls in the region. The body says that between 2019 and March 2020, Uganda's Electoral Commission sought to update the National Voters Register, but it excluded Apaa. It says that excluding these people would be the Ugandan government's most recent violation of their rights. The body has urged government to update the voters' roll to allow these communities to cast their ballots and to make every effort to resolve the decade-long forced displacement of residents from the disputed land. Human Rights Watch further states in its report that natives of the Apaa community have been denied many rights due to decades-long land ownership conflict with the Ugandan government. Families there who claim ancestral ownership over the land are pitted against government, which has declared the area a wildlife reserve. Local residents accuse park rangers and soldiers of having repeatedly attacked their homes and stolen animals and uprooted crops to drive them from the area. Otsieno Namwaya is a senior Africa researcher at the advocacy group Human Rights Watch, and he joins us now via Skype from Nairobi to share some insights on this story. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's get a sense of who these people are in Apaa and how they've ended up in this situation where they're being left out.
Yeah, the residents of Apaa are basically living in their ancestral land, which they have lived on for many years. But for the last 10 years, Ugandan authorities have been trying to evict them. The Ugandan authorities claim that that space is supposed to be a conservation area. The failure to register the people of Apaa in the exercise that took place between late last year and early this year is basically part of the scheme to forcefully evict the Apaa people from their ancestral land.
Do we have any idea how many people we're talking about here? And how big is this area?
So the population of Apaa is approximated to be about 26,000 people. But in the 2016 elections, slightly over 2,000 people voted. However, since 2016, it is estimated that slightly over 1,000 people, perhaps close to another 2,000, are eligible to vote. So if we are talking about the people who since 2016 have come of age and have not been registered, we are talking about slightly over 1,000 people who have been left out. But there's more that the government has done. They have also moved the polling centers from Apaa and taken them like 100 kilometers away. That means even the slightly over 2,000 people who voted in 2016 might not be able to vote because of the long distance they have to cover before they can reach their polling stations.
Has government offered any relief in terms of saying that if you move from here, this is where we will place you and this is what we're providing for you?
Part of our concern is that the government does not seem to be following any laws or laid down international protocols, which would otherwise require the Ugandan authorities to, one, give adequate notice, which has been lacking since, and also to consult broadly and widely with the people who are going to be affected, which the Ugandan authorities have not done, and then provide compensation and alternative settlement areas, which the Ugandan authorities have not done.
So what is the current situation now as we speak?
As we speak now, I think the residents live in constant fear of eviction because the evictions happen on and off. A number of people, from what we know, have died from the exercise. With regard to the elections, it is looking almost certain that the people from Apaa will not participate in choosing their leaders in the coming elections in January.
So the authorities are using soldiers in the area to harass, I'll say that in inverted commas, the locals. Is that what's been playing out?
Yes, it's a combination of the military and the wildlife officers who have been evicting people, torching their houses, and sometimes even shooting at them.
Shooting at them? And how do they justify this? Are they saying they're poachers, or what justification could there be to shoot civilians?
The authorities claim that that piece of land is supposed to have been annexed and just become part of a conservation space, which is a forest land.
I find it quite difficult to, fathom what's playing out here. What have you been able to do in terms of alerting international authorities? Because clearly this sounds like a human rights issue.
Definitely, it's a big human rights issue. Part of our work is to first engage the Ugandan authorities, and we have written to them, even though we have not received any response. But we have done our best. We have reached out to them. We are hoping that even after we publish this, we are going to continue engaging with the Ugandan authorities on these issues in Apaa. But besides that, we are also going to be engaging with the Ugandan partners to just ensure that they are aware of what's happening, and they also reach out to Ugandan authorities and ensure that justice is done.
But this story has been playing out for almost a decade now, is that correct?
Yes, definitely, for over a decade now.
So what's been happening over that length of time? Why has it not been resolved?
Why has it not been resolved? I think partly it's because there is lack of political will to resolve it, because the eviction is being masterminded by senior government officials and probably government agencies. So it's unlikely to be resolved, but President Museveni has appointed two commissions or committees to try and look into the issues. But while the commissions or committees were looking into the issues, the evictions were going on, which would suggest that the authorities probably weren't interested in waiting for the findings of the committees that were appointed. But it is now several months down the line, and nothing has come up of the committees.
How far back does the history of the Apaa people go in terms of this area? I mean, we're talking ancestral, so is it a century, decades? What are we looking at?
We can't talk of decades. I think it is way, way far, but I'm not sure how many years. I think they have been occupying that space for many, many years back.
Is there another precedent in the country where people have been asked to leave a certain area, their ancestral land, and have been placed elsewhere in the same way as what's happening in Apaa?
One, evictions have happened in the region, East Africa region, in nearly all the countries in East African region. But this is the first time we are seeing a government basically targeting people and evicting them from their ancestral land for purposes of conservation.
All right. So what are the people telling you, those that have been evicted? Where are they going? What is their situation?
I think most of the people have been rendered homeless because the eviction team, mostly the military and the wildlife police, usually torch their houses and burn their food stores and beat them up. So most of them have been left without foodstuffs, without places to sleep. But even though some of them have moved from their original spaces where they lived, they haven't left. They're there, but they don't have adequate accommodation and food.
And this is, leaving women, children quite vulnerable, I guess.
Yes, especially during this corona period. The residents of Apaa in sometime last year protested and went to the offices of UNHCR not UNHCR, but Office of the High Commission on Human Rights for the UN, and camped there for like 30 days until they were assured that the issues will be addressed. And Ugandan authorities was notified, and also it assured them that they will look into it. But despite that, nothing has happened, and now they're being excluded from voting, which is more like just exerting pressure on them to ensure that they vacate the place.
Who is their advocate? Who's speaking on their behalf? And have they been engaging with government? And is government, I don't know, I mean, I'm trying to, picture what kind of conversations are taking place beyond the authorities literally just evicting people.
There have been lawyers who have tried to go to court to challenge the issue of Apaa being left out from the voter registration and updating of the voter register. That case hasn't been determined yet. And then there have also been attempts by humanitarian groups, human rights groups, and local leaders in Apaa to try and take this matter to court, and also meet with government officials and UN agencies, the respective UN agencies, to highlight this matter. And these efforts are ongoing. The government of Uganda has been adequately informed of what the situation in Apaa and the concerns of human rights violations there, but there hasn't been any concrete step to ensure that these issues are addressed, or the violations are investigated, or anyone held to account.
All right, and these compensation deals, some have been proposed. Are we saying that the amounts and the type of compensation suggested was not acceptable to the Apaa people?
Yeah, it was not adequate even to get them alternative pieces of land where they could settle, or even take care of their daily needs for a period when they'll be moving. And if you look at it, really, it wasn't sufficient, really. And I think ordinarily government should have discussed with the locals or the residents before coming up with that kind of amount.
All right, and I would imagine that, Africans across the continent, when we talk about ancestral land, the value sometimes isn't in what can be grown there, but the fact that it is ancestral, there's a culture and tradition that's associated with their ancestors with this land.
Yes, and I think there are clear international standards on those kinds of land and what needs to be done, and what government needs to undertake before even attempting to evict people.
All right. We're going to leave it there, but let's hope that you can assist with this lobbying and advocacy that you're doing, that they can get to vote, but also that a solution is found in terms of how they can either keep their land or get properly compensated and relocated. Thanks so much indeed for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.